Once you have tried these three problems, you can continue the video and look at the solution. For the first problem, we have 5 divided by 6 over 7. And whenever we have this form, we can convert this into a multiplication problem. And this is really equal to 5 times 7 over 6. Again, if it helps you keep track of where everything is, you can write 5 as 5 over 1. And once you get to this form, check for any cancellation of common factors. Here 5 and 6 don't share anything, 7 over 6 also don't share anything common for cancellation, so we can just multiply straight across, and that becomes 35 over 6 as a final answer. For part B, we can again convert this to be a multiplication problem over here, and that becomes multiplied by 8 over 5 over here. And altogether, that becomes this product, and we see 8 and 8 can be cancelled out, so we get 3 over 5. And alternatively, if you want to try your hand on using the least common denominator on this type of problem, you can also do it. So in a problem like in part B, we can also look at what's the least common denominator for our fractions in this case. And in this particular case, our denominator on top and denominator on the bottom are both 8. So that means our least common denominator would just be 8. So you can also recognize that if we had 3 over 8 over 5 over 8, I can now multiply everything by the least common denominator, which is 8 over here. And now if I distribute 8, really there's no distribution because there's only one term on both top and bottom over here. And again, 8 is technically 8 over 1, if it helps you keep track of things. And now we can go ahead and simplify the top. Here we have 8 and 8 cancel each other out. And similarly on the bottom, 8 and 8 cancel each other out. And that becomes 3 on top and 5 on the bottom. So you can see no matter which method you use, you will get the same result. And we have this option only if we have only one term on top and only one term on the bottom. Then we can convert it to a multiplication by reciprocal. And a lot of times we are dealing with cases like we see in part C. We have more than one term on top and more than one term on the bottom. So when that happens, we want to think about what's the least common denominator of all fractions. Again, you can use any of the methods for finding least common denominators. One of them is you can list out the prime factorization. 6 is 2 times 3, 4 is 2 squared, 3 is just 3. And now if I want to find the least common denominator, I want to list out all the factors and raise it to the highest degree. And 2, the highest degree of 2 that showed up in factorization is from 4, which is 2 squared, and 3 is showed up once in the factor of 3 and once in the factor of 3, so the highest degree of it is just to the first degree. And altogether, that gives us a least common denominator is 4 times 3, which is 12. And once we recognize that, we're going to multiply everything by 12. Make sure you put a parentheses around the original numerator and denominator, just so you remember to distribute 12. And as we do that, we would have 12 over 1 times 1 over 6 plus 12 over 1 times 1 over 4. And this is all over, again, 12 over 1 times 4 over 3 minus 12 over 1 times 3 over 4 altogether. And now with a cancellation, we would have 12 and 6 cancel out to leave a 2 on top, 12 and 4 cancel out to leave a factor of 3. And the key is if you found the correct least common denominator, you will see the denominator of the top and denominator of the bottom will be cancelled out completely. That because 12 is a multiple of all these denominators. 12 and 3 cancel out to be a 4, 12 and 4 cancel out to be a 3. And now if we list out what we get for the first term, we're left with 2. Second term, we're left with 3. And the first term on the bottom, we have 4 times 4, which is 16. Second term on the denominator, we have 3 times 3, which is 9. And then we're left with 5 over negative 7. and that's going to be the final answer.